You are on HOA clapback. The doorbell clip ended the witch hunt. Karen pointed at my trash can and yelled that she could search it for packaging. I do not care what you were told at move-in, Heather Caldwell snapped, her handheld radio crackling static as she waved it like a badge. She stood on my driveway in Harbor Point Residential Association, Charlotte, North Carolina, wearing a gray puffer vest with the hood up and a black bucket hat, her shoulder-length brown hair swinging as she jabbed a finger at the plastic bin by my garage. I am the architectural committee member, and I have the authority to inspect for violations. I had just pulled in from my shift as a security guard, still wearing my tan zip jacket with the hood up and a black beanie, and I was holding a sealed evidence bag from work because I had not had time to drop it at the station. Heather did not care. She had a clear sleeve clipboard in her other hand with a date box highlighted in yellow marker, no readable text, and she kept tapping it with her thumb. You were the last one at the community table yesterday, she said, her voice climbing. The HOA supply gift cards are missing, and you are going to pay for every single one of them. I took a slow breath. I had dropped off a box of donated canned goods at the neighborhood charity event table the day before, but I had not touched any gift cards. I did not even know there were gift cards. Heather, I said, keeping my voice level. I put a box on the table and left. I did not take anything. She cut me off. You do not get special treatment, she said, tapping a plastic badge clipped to her vest. That was her catchphrase, and she said it every time she wanted to shut someone down. I have a witness who saw you near the cash box. I have a security report. And I have the authority to tow your car for community safety. I felt my stomach drop. My car was parked in the guest spot because my assigned space was being repaved. If she towed it, I would miss my next shift, and I could not afford that. Heather pulled out a portable printer from a tote bag at her feet and set it on the hood of my car. She pressed a button and it whirred to life, spitting out a single sheet of paper. She held it up. This is your violation notice, she said, effective immediately. You have 72 hours to pay the replacement cost or I suspend your access fob and initiate a lien process. I stared at the paper. The date on it was today, printed fresh, and the violation code was handwritten in the margin. Heather, this is not how violations work, I said. You cannot print a notice on the spot and call it official. She smiled. Everyone agrees with me, I have messages. She pulled out her phone and scrolled, then turned it around. I could see a neighborhood chat thread, but the screen was angled so I could not read the names or timestamps. She had already started the rumor blast. My chest tightened. I knew how fast these things spread in Harbor Point. The subdivision was mixed age, older rules and newer owners, and the neighborhood chat was vicious. If Heather got enough people on her side, it did not matter what the truth was. I needed proof, and I needed it fast. I asked to see the security report. Heather pulled a folded page from her clipboard and handed it over. It was a typed summary with no signature, no readable text in the body, just a highlighted date box that matched the day of the event. The report claimed I had been seen reaching toward the cash box and leaving quickly. That was a lie. I had been there for maybe 2 minutes, and I had not gone near the cash box. I handed it back. This does not prove anything, I said. Heather shrugged. It proves enough. And unless you want me to call the tow company right now, you will cooperate. She lifted the radio to her mouth and pressed the button. Dispatch. This is Heather Caldwell, Architectural Committee, requesting a tow for community safety violation at Unit 47. She paused, like she was waiting for a response, but the radio was silent. She pressed the button again. Dispatch. Do you copy? Still nothing. She frowned and lowered the radio, then looked at me. You are not allowed to speak, she said. I will handle this directly with the vendor. She pulled out her phone and dialed. I could hear it ringing on speaker. A man answered. Harbor Towing, this is Mike. Heather straightened up. Hi, Mike. This is Heather Caldwell with Harbor Point Residential Association. I need a tow for a community safety violation. Mike paused. Ma'am, I need authorization from management or a board vote for association tows. Heather's face went red. I am the architectural committee member. I have the authority. Mike sighed. Not according to our contract. You need a signed work order from the management office. Heather hung up and shoved the phone in her pocket. She turned to me. This is not over, she said. You do not get special treatment. I am going to the management office right now and I am getting that work order. Then your car is gone. She grabbed her clipboard and her printer and walked to her car, a silver sedan parked across the street. She threw everything in the back seat and drove off. I stood there for a moment, then pulled out my own phone. I work security, so I know the first thing you do in a frame-up is start building your own timeline. I opened my photo app and scrolled back to yesterday. I had taken a picture of the donation box on the event table, just a quick shot to show my girlfriend I had dropped it off. The timestamp was visible in the metadata, 3:18 p.m. I zoomed in on the photo. The table was set up in the clubhouse courtyard, and I could see the cash box in the corner of the frame, closed and untouched. There were no gift cards visible. I took a screenshot of the metadata and texted it to myself as a backup. Then I opened the neighborhood chat and scrolled back to yesterday. Heather had posted at 4:30 p.m., an hour after I left, saying the event was wrapping up and thanking everyone for their donations. No mention of missing gift cards. I took another screenshot. I needed more. I walked over to my neighbor's house, 2 doors down. His name was Garrett, and he had a doorbell camera that covered the sidewalk and part of the street. I knocked. Garrett opened the door, a gray-haired man in a flannel shirt, and I explained what had happened. He frowned. Heather accused you? Man, she pulled the same thing on me last year. Said I was dumping yard waste in the common area, but I had a lawn service receipt that proved I was not even home. She tried to find me anyway. He pulled out his phone. Let me check the footage. He opened the app and scrolled back to yesterday afternoon. The camera had caught me walking past with the donation box at 3:15 p.m., heading toward the clubhouse. Then, at 4:45 p.m., it caught Heather walking the opposite direction, away from the clubhouse, carrying a small shopping bag with handles. Garrett zoomed in. You see that? She is coming from the clubhouse, not going to it. And look at the time. That is after the event ended. I took a picture of the screen with my phone, making sure the timestamp bar was visible even though it was unreadable in detail. Garrett shook his head. She is setting you up, man. Be careful. I thanked Garrett and walked back to my place. I needed to get ahead of this before Heather got the tow authorized. I called the Harbor Point management office. A woman answered. Harbor Point, this is Linda. I recognized her voice. Linda was the receptionist, and she had been there for years. She was tired of the chaos and quietly helped people who got caught in board drama. Linda, this is the resident at Unit 47, I said. Heather Caldwell just tried to tow my car and accused me of stealing gift cards from the event yesterday. I need to file a formal complaint. Linda sighed. She is on her way here right now. She called ahead and said she is bringing a printed packet to request emergency enforcement. I felt my pulse spike. A printed packet meant she was escalating fast. Linda, I have proof I did not take anything, I said. I have a photo with a timestamp and a neighbor's doorbell footage. Can you hold off on any enforcement until I get there? Linda hesitated. I can stall her for maybe 20 minutes, but you need to get here fast. She is going to push hard. If you are enjoying this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next story. I grabbed my evidence bag, my phone, and my keys, and I drove to the management office. It was a small building near the front entrance of Harbor Point, a one-story brick structure with a parking lot that always smelled like fresh mulch. I pulled in and saw Heather's silver sedan already parked by the door. I walked inside. The lobby was narrow, with a counter separating the waiting area from the office space. Linda was behind the counter, and Heather was standing in front of it, holding a thick binder with plastic tabs. She had printed out a whole packet, pages and pages of highlighted sections, and she was reading selected lines out loud to shame me. As per Section 12.4, any resident suspected of theft or misconduct may be subject to immediate enforcement, including access suspension and vehicle removal. She looked up and saw me. Oh, good. You are here. Now you can listen to this, too. Linda looked at me, and then at Heather. Heather, you need to let him respond, she said. Heather ignored her. She flipped to another page. Section 18.7. Any resident who refuses to cooperate with an investigation will be subject to escalated penalties. She tapped the page. He refused to cooperate. I was there. I saw it. I stayed calm. Heather, I complied, I said. I answered your questions on my driveway. You are the one who left. Heather slammed the binder on the counter. You do not get special treatment. She said it again, louder this time, tapping her plastic badge. Linda, I need that work order signed. I need his car towed today. Linda looked at me. Do you have the proof you mentioned? I pulled out my phone and opened the photo of the donation box. I showed her the screen, zoomed in on the metadata. This was taken at 3:18 p.m. yesterday, I said. The cash box is closed, and there are no gift cards visible on the table. Then I showed her the screenshot of the neighborhood chat. Heather posted at 4:30 that the event was wrapping up. No mention of missing cards. Then I showed her the photo of Garrett's doorbell footage. Heather is walking away from the clubhouse at 4:45, carrying a shopping bag. That is after the event ended. Linda studied the images. She looked at Heather. Do you have any actual evidence that he took the gift cards? Heather pulled out her tablet and turned it on. She swiped through a few screens, then held it up. This is a paused security video frame from the clubhouse camera, she said. The screen showed a grainy still of the courtyard, with a time bar at the bottom that was too small and blurry to read. I could see myself in the frame, standing near the table, but I was clearly placing the donation box down, not reaching for anything. Heather pointed at the screen. See? He is right there. Linda squinted. That does not show him taking anything. Heather's voice climbed. He was the last one near the table. Who else could it have been? Linda shook her head. That is not enough for enforcement. I need a signed incident report from a witness or clear footage of the actual theft. Heather turned red. Fine, she said. I will get you a witness. She pulled out her phone and started typing. Within 2 minutes, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and smiled. I have someone coming, she said. A resident who was at the event and saw everything. Linda sighed. Heather, this is not how formal complaints work. You cannot just summon people to the office. Heather ignored her. She turned to me. You are not allowed to leave. If you leave, that is proof of guilt. I stayed. I was not going to give her anything to twist. 10 minutes later, a woman walked in. She was younger, maybe late 20s, with dark hair and a nervous look. Her name was Rachel, and I recognized her from the neighborhood. Heather walked over to her. Rachel, thank you for coming. Tell Linda what you saw yesterday. Rachel glanced at me, then at Linda. I was at the event, and I saw him near the table. But I did not actually see him take anything. Heather's smile dropped. But you saw him near the cash box, right? Rachel shook her head. I saw him put a box on the table and then leave. That is it. Heather's face went red. You told me in the chat that you saw something suspicious. Rachel looked uncomfortable. I said I saw him at the table. I did not say it was suspicious. Linda stepped in. Heather, this is not a valid complaint. I am not authorizing a tow or any enforcement action. Heather grabbed her binder and her tablet. This is ridiculous, she said. You do not get special treatment, she said again, pointing at me. I am taking this to the board. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Rachel looked at me. I am sorry, she said. She has been pressuring everyone in the chat. I did not want to get involved, but she kept messaging me. I told her it was fine and thanked her for being honest. Linda leaned over the counter. You need to file a formal written complaint, she said quietly. If you do not, she is going to keep escalating. I nodded. I will email it tonight, I said. Do you have the board's contact info? Linda handed me a printed sheet with email addresses. And one more thing, she said. Check the portal. Heather submitted a violation yesterday afternoon, before she even talked to you. That means she already decided you were guilty. I went home and logged into the resident portal. Sure enough, there was a violation entry dated yesterday at 5 p.m., 2 hours after I had left the event. The entry claimed I had been reported for theft and misconduct, and it listed a fine of $200 due within 72 hours. I took a screenshot of the entry, making sure the timestamp and date were visible. Then I opened my laptop and started drafting the email. I attached the photo metadata, the doorbell footage screenshot, the chat screenshot, and the portal screenshot. I wrote a short summary. I did not take any gift cards. I have proof of my timeline. Heather Coldwell submitted a violation before investigating and has been harassing me with threats of towing and access suspension. I request an immediate review and reversal of the fine. I copied the board, Linda, and the HOA management company, and I hit send. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Linda. Heather is coming to your unit today at 10 a.m. with a printed notice. She is going to try to suspend your access fob. Be ready. I checked the time. It was 9:30. I got dressed and made coffee. Then I set up my phone on a shelf near the front door with the camera facing out. If Heather was going to escalate, I wanted it recorded. At 10 a.m. sharp, there was a knock. I opened the door. Heather was standing there with her clipboard, her tablet, and her portable printer. She had a new page in the clear sleeve, and the date box was highlighted again. This is your final notice, she said. You have failed to comply with the investigation and you have 48 hours to pay the fine or I will suspend your access fob today. I looked at the page. The date on it was today, freshly printed. Heather, I said, I filed a formal complaint last night. Linda told you she is not authorizing enforcement. Heather waved her hand. The board has not responded yet, which means I still have discretion. She pulled out a small plastic card reader from her tote bag and held it up. I can deactivate your fob right now. You will not be able to get into the pool, the clubhouse, the gym, or the mailroom. And if you try to contest it, I have documentation that you refuse to cooperate. I kept my voice calm. You are lying, I said. I complied with your questions. You are the one who escalated without evidence. Heather pulled out her phone and started reading from the chat. Look at this, she said. Multiple residents are concerned about your behavior. You have a pattern of not following the rules. She scrolled and read more. Someone said you park in the guest spot too often. Someone else said you leave your trash can out overnight. She looked up. You do not get special treatment. I felt a spike of anger, but I kept it down. Heather, none of that has anything to do with the gift cards, I said, and I have proof I did not take them. She smiled. Proof does not matter if the board decides you are a problem. She tapped her badge. And I am recommending suspension. She set the card reader on her clipboard and started tapping the screen. I could see my fob number listed. She pressed a button. There, she said. Deactivated. Try getting your mail now. I pulled out my phone and opened the video app. The recording was still running. I flipped the phone around so she could see the screen. I have been recording this whole conversation, I said. You just admitted you deactivated my access without board approval and without a valid complaint. Heather's smile disappeared. That is illegal, she said. You cannot record me without consent. I shook my head. North Carolina is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I am part of, and I am sending this to the board and the management company right now. I stopped the recording, trimmed the file, and attached it to an email. I copied the same list from last night and added a new subject line. Heather Caldwell deactivated my access fob without authorization. I hit send while standing there so the timestamp would show I sent it immediately. Heather grabbed her clipboard and her tablet. You are going to regret this, she said. I am filing a complaint with the police for harassment. She turned and walked to her car. I went back inside and called Linda. She answered on the first ring. I just got your email, she said. And I got 3 others from residents saying Heather is messaging them in the chat trying to get them to back her story. This is out of control. I need you to come to the office again. The management company is sending someone this afternoon and they want to hear your side. I drove over at 2 p.m. The management company rep was already there, a man in a polo shirt with a company logo. His name was Greg, and he looked tired. He asked me to walk through everything from the beginning. I showed him the photo metadata, the doorbell footage, the chat screenshots, the portal entry timestamp, and the video of Heather deactivating my fob. He took notes. Then he pulled up his own tablet and opened the resident portal. Let me check something, he said. He typed for a minute, then turned the screen toward me. This is the portal audit log. It shows every action taken by board members. He pointed at a line. Heather submitted the violation entry at 5:02 p.m. yesterday. But look at this. He scrolled up. She also accessed the security footage at 4:55 p.m. and downloaded a clip. That is before she even filed the violation. And look at the download timestamp on the clip she showed you today. He pulled up another screen. It was saved at 6:12 p.m. last night, after you filed your complaint. She edited it. I stared at the screen. Are you saying she downloaded the footage, edited it, and then used it as evidence? Greg nodded. That is exactly what I am saying, and that is a violation of the association's data policy. He closed the tablet. I am recommending that the board remove her enforcement discretion immediately, and I am recommending that your fine be reversed and your access restored. He looked at Linda. Can you reactivate his fob now? Linda nodded and typed on her computer. Done, she said. Your access is back. Greg stood up. I am going to need you to forward me everything you have. I am opening a formal investigation into Heather's conduct. If she filed a false report and tampered with evidence, that is grounds for removal from the committee. I sent him the email thread with all the attachments. He thanked me and left. That night, I got a text from Garrett. Dude, check the neighborhood chat. Heather is losing it. I opened the app. Heather had posted a long rant claiming I had threatened her, that I was recording her illegally, and that the management company was protecting me because I had connections. She ended the post with her catchphrase, "He does not get special treatment. Nobody does." The comments were mixed. Some people were agreeing with her, but others were pushing back. One woman, an older resident named Diane, posted a reply. "Heather, you did the same thing to me 2 years ago. You accused me of violating the fence rule and tried to fine me, but I had the original approval letter from the board. You lost that one too. Maybe the problem is you." Another resident chimed in. "I was at the event. I did not see him take anything. Why are you so focused on this?" Heather replied to both. "You do not know what you are talking about. I have evidence. Everyone agrees with me. I have messages." But the thread kept growing, and more people were questioning her. The next day, I got a call from Greg. "We found the gift cards," he said. My stomach dropped. "Where?" "In Heather's car," he said. "She left her tote bag in the back seat, and a security patrol spotted it during a routine check. The cards were in a zippered pouch with a receipt. She bought them herself last week and was supposed to turn them in for the event, but she never did. She was holding on to them and blamed you to cover it up." I sat down. "So she framed me for her own mistake." Greg sighed. "It looks like it. And it gets worse." We pulled the full security footage from the clubhouse. She is on camera at 4:40 p.m. yesterday, after the event ended, walking to the table and picking up the cash box. She carried it to her car, opened it, took out a stack of envelopes, and then put the box back. She was not stealing the cash, but she was moving things around to make it look like something was missing. That is why she accused you. She needed a scapegoat. I felt a cold anger settle in. "What happens now?" Greg paused. "The board is meeting tonight. Emergency session. Heather is being removed from the architectural committee and banned from any enforcement role. Your fine is reversed, your record is cleared, and the association is issuing a formal apology. And if you want to file a civil complaint, I can give you the contact info for the association's attorney." I thanked him and hung up. I did not need a lawsuit. I just wanted this over. But I also wanted Heather to face consequences in a way that stuck. I called Linda. "Is there a way to request a public records review?" I asked. "I want to see if she has done this to other people." Linda hesitated. "Technically, yes, but it is a pain. You have to submit a written request and the board has to approve it. I can help you draft it if you want." I told her I did. That night, I wrote a formal request asking for all violation entries submitted by Heather Caldwell over the past 3 years, all board correspondence related to those violations, and all audit logs showing her access to resident data. I submitted it to the board and copied Greg. 2 days later, I got a reply. The board had approved the request, and the records were ready. I picked them up at the office. There were 47 violations submitted by Heather over 3 years. 32 of them had been overturned or withdrawn. The pattern was clear. She targeted people she did not like, escalated without evidence, and backed down when challenged. I made copies and posted a summary in the neighborhood chat, with names redacted but dates and outcomes visible. The thread exploded. Residents who had been fined started sharing their own stories. Heather tried to respond, but her comments were drowned out. The emergency board meeting happened 2 nights later. I was not required to attend, but Greg invited me to give a statement. The meeting was held at the clubhouse, and about 20 residents showed up. Heather was there, sitting in the front row with her clipboard and her binder. The board president, a retired banker named Ed, opened the meeting. "We are here to address the complaint filed against Heather Caldwell regarding her conduct as architectural committee member," he said. He read through the findings, the false violation, the edited footage, the deactivated fob, the pattern of selective enforcement. Heather stood up. "This is a witch hunt," she said. "I was doing my job. Everyone agrees with me. I have messages." Ed held up a hand. "Heather, please sit down. We have reviewed the evidence and the board has voted. You are removed from the architectural committee effective immediately. You are also banned from filing any future violations or participating in enforcement actions. If you violate this order, we will pursue legal action." Heather's face went red. "You cannot do this," she said. "I have rights." Ed shook his head. "You had discretion, and you abused it. That discretion is now removed. Management will take over all enforcement decisions." Heather grabbed her things and walked out, slamming the clubhouse door behind her. After the meeting, Diane came up to me. "Thank you for pushing this," she said. "She has been terrorizing people for years, and nobody had the evidence to stop her." I told her it was not over yet. I still wanted to make sure the towing threat was dealt with. The next morning, I called Harbor Towing and asked to speak to Mike. I explained what had happened and asked if Heather had tried to place any more tow orders. Mike laughed. "Oh yeah, she called yesterday and tried to get your car towed again." I told her the same thing. No authorization, no tow. Then she started yelling at me, saying she was going to report me to the board for not following orders. I told her I do not take orders from committee members. I take orders from management. She hung up on me. I asked Mike if he could send me a written statement confirming that Heather had no authority to order tows. He agreed and emailed it to me within an hour. I forwarded it to Greg and the board. That afternoon, I was checking my mail at the cluster box near the front entrance when I saw Heather's car pull up. She parked and walked over, her handheld radio in one hand and her tablet in the other. I braced myself. She stopped a few feet away. "You think you won," she said. "But this is not over. I have friends on the board and I am going to get my position back. You do not get special treatment." I looked at her. "Heather, it is over," I said. "You lied, you tampered with evidence, and you tried to frame me for something you did. The board removed you. Management took over enforcement. And the tow company will not work with you anymore." She opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at her tablet, then at me. "I was trying to keep the community safe," she said, her voice quieter now. "Someone had to enforce the rules." I shook my head. "You were not enforcing rules. You were targeting people you did not like, and you got caught." Heather turned and walked back to her car. She sat in the driver's seat for a moment, staring at the steering wheel, then drove off. 2 weeks later, I got an email from the board. The association had completed its review and issued a formal apology. My fine was refunded, my record was cleared, and the board had implemented a new policy requiring all violations to be reviewed by management before enforcement action could be taken. The email also included a note from Greg. "Heather Caldwell has resigned from all HOA volunteer positions. She will remain a resident, but will have no role in governance or enforcement. If she contacts you again, let us know immediately." I saved the email and printed a copy for my files. I also sent a thank you note to Linda, Garrett, and Diane. They had all helped in their own way, and I wanted them to know it mattered. A month later, I was at the clubhouse for a community event. It was a barbecue fundraiser, and the turnout was huge. I saw Garrett and Diane there along with a few other residents I had talked to during the investigation. Heather was not there. Someone asked me if I had heard about the hidden camera angle that showed Karen circling my house before the accusation. I told them I had not heard that detail, but I was not surprised. Another resident, a younger guy named Marcus, who had been targeted by Heather the year before, came up and shook my hand. "Man, you did what a lot of us could not do," he said. "You stood up to her and you had the receipts. I appreciate it." I told him it was just about following the process and keeping records. He laughed. "Yeah, but most people do not have the patience. You stayed calm and you buried her with evidence. That is the only way to win against people like that." Later that evening, I was cleaning up my porch when I noticed a small envelope taped to my front door. There was no name on it, just a folded piece of paper inside. I opened it. The note was handwritten. "I am sorry for what happened. I got carried away and I made mistakes. I know I cannot fix it, but I wanted you to know I regret how I handled things." It was not signed, but the handwriting matched the notes on Heather's printed violation sheets. I folded the note and put it in my files. I did not know if it was genuine or if it was just damage control, but it did not matter. The damage was done, and the consequences had already played out. Heather's authority theatrics had backfired. Her credibility had collapsed in front of witnesses, and the records request had exposed contradictions and edits that made it impossible for her to deny what she had done. The board had taken over enforcement decisions and removed her discretion. The tow company had refused her orders, and the neighborhood had turned on her when the pattern became clear. I sat on my porch and looked out at the subdivision. Harbor Point was quiet that night, just the sound of distant lawnmowers and the occasional car passing by. I thought about the whole mess. It had started with a tow threat and a bogus security report, and it had escalated into public shaming, access suspension, and a neighborhood chat war. But in the end, the system had worked. Not because the HOA was fair, but because I had kept every receipt, recorded every conversation, and pushed back at every step. The funny karma beat had come when Heather called the tow like a dispatcher, and the driver asked for authorization she could not produce. That moment, more than anything else, had shown everyone that her authority was fake. She had no real power, just a clipboard and a badge and a radio that did not even work. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. The stakes had been real. My ability to receive deliveries had been at risk because Heather had been interfering with my packages. She had tried to suspend my access, tow my car, and destroy my reputation. But I had fought back with evidence, and I had won. The vendor had refused to perform for her. Management had disciplined her, and my fees had been refunded. The outcome was exactly what I had pushed for. No lawsuits, no drama, just a clean paper trail and a board decision that stuck. And now, every time someone in Harbor Point got a violation notice, they would know they could challenge it. They would know that selective enforcement did not fly, that edited footage got you removed, and that threatening people without proof had consequences. I went inside and poured a glass of water. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Linda. "Board just posted the new enforcement policy in the portal. You should check it out." I logged in and read through the document. It was clear and simple. All violations had to be submitted in writing with evidence. All enforcement actions had to be approved by management, and all residents had the right to request an audit log of any data access related to their account. It was not perfect, but it was a step in the right direction. I closed the laptop and sat back. The whole experience had taught me something important. In an HOA conflict, the person with the best records wins. It does not matter how loud someone yells, how many badges they wear, or how many people they claim agree with them. If you have timestamps, screenshots, and witness statements, you can bury the lies. And if you stay calm and follow the process, you can make the system work for you instead of against you. A few weeks later, I ran into Diane at the mailbox cluster. She asked me if I had heard that Heather was selling her house. I told her I had not. Diane nodded. "Yeah, she listed it last week. I think she just could not handle being here anymore after everything that happened." I did not feel bad for her. She had made her choices, and she had paid the price. But I also did not feel vindicated. I just felt tired. The whole thing had taken months of my time, hours of emails and phone calls, and a level of stress I did not want to repeat. But it was over now, and that was enough. Until next time, keep your paper trail.